Welcome to the Interesting Football Podcast. In this week's episode, we will critically evaluate Burnley Football Club's claim on being the most interesting club in English football. My name's Laurie Knox, and I'm joined by former Ponte de Leño tourist Simon Day. Mr. Day, how are you? And what are your first thoughts when somebody says Burnley?
Hello. When somebody says Burnley, my first thoughts are concerning a game I didn't go to. That is probably the game I most regret missing.
Why is that?
And I've missed playoff semi-finals that Gillingham have won. I've missed plenty of big games. Burnley versus Gillingham, 1998 to 1999. In my first year at uni, I didn't go to the game. The game finished Burnley 0, Gillingham 5. And all 5 Gillingham goals were scored by Robert Taylor.
I remember that.
It was just such a sort of... It's the sort of thing that would happen in like the 1930s, isn't it? Sort of someone scoring 5 goals in an away match. But in modern football, it just doesn't happen, does it? You occasionally get it in a home game, but in an away game, and it just sounded like the best sort of mad party atmosphere, day out, away trip, day out. And I was sat in my halls of residence playing Championship Manager.
If I remember correctly, didn't Burnley refuse to give him the ball at first? Like they were being really stingy, because usually the home team lets you keep the match ball, but at first they wouldn't let them. I think Gillingham really had to persuade them hard. Am I right there?
That doesn't ring a bell, but it wouldn't surprise me. The whole match. What is the match ball? How many balls get used during a game of football?
True. I mean, back in 98, 99, Premier League nowadays, right? There's definitely not a match ball. But third tier of English football, 98, 99, yeah, there's probably a couple there, right? But
well, all of these goals were in like the first 50 minutes. So there was another 40 minutes to play, during which time, given the Gillingham team of the day, I'm pretty sure there'd be a few clearances out the stadium. So I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been the same ball. So
is that the Guy Butters era?
It would have been Guy Butters, A.D. Pennock and Barry Ashby at the back.
Very nice.
Very cultured.
Yeah, talking about games that you kind of wish you'd gone to see. I remember I was, how old was I? 13 years old, and my mum promised that she would drive me and 2 of my friends up to Hillsborough to watch a game. And, here's something I used to do, which is really weird when I was younger. I would never try to get tickets for the Manchester United games or that, because my stupid childlike thinking was that if the game's going to be full, it's going to be full capacity for the Manchester United game. So there's no point. So what I do is, if I go to watch them play someone like Swindon, we increase the attendance by 3. That wouldn't be like that. So that's genuinely was my thinking. So anyway, all the times I went to Hillsborough, it was always against really low level teams. But anyway, so I had a choice of 2 games. I had a Swindon or West Ham. So I went for Swindon. 3-3, great game. And under normal circumstances, I wouldn't regret that. But the game against West Ham is also another 5-0. And it's known by Wednesday fans as the Waddle game. And it's kind of regarded as the greatest ever individual performance by a Wednesday player. So, and that one's like, if you say to any Wednesday fan, the Waddle game, they'll immediately know what you're talking about. And it's kind of, gone into Wednesday folklore, and I missed it to watch a 3-3 draw against bottom of the league Swindon. But there we go.
That would have been, because after they were only in the Premier League for 1 year, so that would have been the year where Swindon were like abysmal, weren't they? They conceded over 100 goals, and just like one of the worst Premier League teams ever.
Well, they scored at least 3. I know that.
They scored at least 3. Yeah, probably. I'm guessing Craig Maskell would have got one.
I can't even remember the Wednesday scores. Andy Sinton, I'm sure Andy Skinner Sinton got on the score sheet, but other than that, I'm not too sure.
England's your own 92 star, Andy Sinton.
That's for Burnley. Thoughts on Burnley? I've never been to Burnley. I mean, I think the first thing I think about is the kit. It's obviously quite a distinctive kit. And also Wednesday, I've had a couple of crazy games there. I think we won at Turfmoor. Was it 7-3 or 7-4? About 10, 15 years ago. So, there have been a couple of high-scoring games at Turfmoor. So
I've been twice to Burnley. And both times we lost quite comfortably, and it was rubbish. So it's not somewhere I've got fond memories of.
You were trying to chase that Robert Taylor high, were you?
Yeah, and I missed, annoyingly, the year after when we got promoted, we ended up playing Burnley midweek towards the end of the season in a really big game. And I couldn't go because I was a poor student and it was a midweek game anyway. And we won 3-0 then. And I went the next 2 seasons or to the next 3 or whatever. And we just got trounced.
Oh, well.
I've not got fond memories of Burnley.
So, well, let's see whether I've got quite high hopes, though, for Burnley being one of the most interesting clubs in the world or English football, because, I mean, they've obviously got quite a big history. So, Simon Day, why don't you hit us with the first fact?
Well, the first fact covers the whole world because Burnley are, or were, founder members of the International Soccer League.
The what?
Which does beg a question, admittedly. The International Soccer League was invented in 1960 by a US businessman called William Cox, and he wanted to create a club version or something similar
So, just to
the World
clarify,
Cup.
that was Willie Cox, was it?
Willie Cox, or Bill Cox to his mates. Yeah, Coxie.
Fair enough.
Willie Cox, yes, very good. He wanted to create something similar to the FIFA World Cup. So he decided to come up with the International Soccer League, and invited the best teams from around the world, sort of. Now, at the time, as luck would have it, Burnley had just won the Football League. So Burnley were de facto the best team in England. So they got invited, along with Bayern Munich, some big names here. Bayern Munich, Sampdoria, Sporting Lisbon, Red Star Belgrade, Sporting Lisbon, I said already, haven't I? Rapid Vienna. The final was played between a Brazilian side called Bangu, who are currently in the 4th division of Brazilian football. And according to their Wikipedia page, this was their biggest ever achievement. And in the final, they won 2-0 against Kilmarnock.
Kilmarnock, wow.
Okay. Now, the problem with the International Soccer League is that when do you play it?
So was it like the World Club Cup? Was it just like a 2-week tournament? How did it work?
It was 2 groups of 6, and the winners of each group went through to the final. Okay. And unfortunately for Burnley, they finished second to Kilmarnock in their group.
So this was basically the precursor to the World Club Cup, kind of. I mean, this is
yeah. It ran for 5 or 6 years. The only English winners were West Ham in 1963, during which Bobby Moore was named player of the tournament. Well done, Bobby.
How we never heard of this tournament? I'm pretty shocked.
Well, it only lasted 5 years, and then
it's not even on the radar. You'd think a bit of a football geek like me, you would have thought I'd have heard of it. But no,
the International Soccer League. Yeah. Well, I don't think it got much traction because I think for a lot of the European sides, because it was played in August, it was kind of just treated as a pre-season tournament.
Right.
I think it's, rather than being an early precursor of the Club World Cup, it was probably an early precursor of stuff like the Premier League trophy that they play in, like, they play this little tournament in China or whatever in August, don't they, where it's 4 or 5 Premier League clubs play, or these strange competitions they have in America, don't they, where it's like Man City are playing AC Milan for the international trophy or something like that. Okay. I think it's more an early precursor of that. But at the time, it was meant to be the next big thing. And clearly giving it sort of a highfalutin name like the International Soccer League, they had big hopes for it. But despite
I just looked up Willie Cox. And apparently he was the owner of the US baseball team, Philadelphia Phillies. So he's obviously somebody who saw kind of like, probably had an idea from one sport, kind of wanted to take a similar kind of build up. Because like you say, it was split into 2 sections, right?
Yes.
I'm thinking kind of like, what was it, AFL, NFC, AFL?
Mm-hmm.
Are they the 2 sections?
NFC,
that's kind of very American-esque. But it didn't quite work, did it?
It didn't quite work.
A few American businessmen tinkering with things. There's the cricket guy as well, wasn't there? Who came in?
Oh God! What was his name? Alan Stamford.
Oh yes, that rings a bell. Yeah,
it was the $1 million match, wasn't it?
Oh, was that what it was? England
played like the Stamford 11 for $1 million in a 2020 game in probably about 10, 15 years ago. And I'm pretty sure Alan Stamford's team won by 10 wickets, and it was like a real non-event of a game. And then 2 months later, he was in prison, wasn't he?
Stanford helped kind of nudge 2020 along?
No.
No,
I
fair
think I
enough,
think
fair enough.
if he hadn't come along, would 2020 be bigger, smaller, or about the same? I'd say about the same.
Fair enough, fair
It
enough.
it was just a fairly farcical side venture by a criminal.
Right.
Talking
Was
to sorry
Willie
to side,
Cox a criminal?
not to my knowledge, no.
Fair enough. We'll let him go. We'll let him go.
Yeah. So to their credit, Kilmarnock played in 4 iterations of the International Soccer League, though they were like right behind this, but they couldn't seem to pick up much interest from other countries.
Right.
But England sent along teams. England sent along West Ham, West Brom. I think Everton played one year. Blackburn
Okay.
played one year. Yeah, we gave it a bash, but it didn't really pick up.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Were Kilmarnock winning the league at the time? I'm not sure. I'm not. Did they ever win the league?
No, they were.
No.
They got invited because they were runners up in the Scottish League.
Fair
So
enough.
whoever won the Scottish League that year, I'm going to take a punt and say Celtic or Rangers. Didn't come along.
Right. Oh well. Oh well. Okay. Well, that's a good fact. I like that one. I'm amazed that I didn't know this tournament existed. So that's some good knowledge. I'm feeling pretty good about Burnley right now. They were in the International Soccer League. Okay.
And I'll be honest, that's my weakest fact, I think.
Oh, this is promising. This is promising.
It's promising, yeah.
Well, let's see how you do with the 1 minute quiz. So this week, I think you already mentioned Burnley won the league on 2 occasions,
Yes.
1921 and 1960. I was pretty surprised to hear that they won it as late as 1960. I didn't. I think of Burnley as being like big in the 20s and 30s, but there we go. And so 1921 to 1921 and 1960. So there were 31 seasons between those seasons when Burnley won the league, because obviously war seasons there. And in those 31 seasons, 13 teams were champions of England. Okay. So Simon Day, I'm going to set par at a pretty sturdy 10 for this one.
10?
10,
These
yeah.
really are.
Well, I mean, to be fair, yeah, okay. We'll see how you go. But you've got par of 10. You've got 1 minute to name all the champions of England between 1922 and 1959. Your time starts now.
Liverpool.
Yes.
Everton.
Yes.
Arsenal.
Yes.
Man U.
Yes.
I don't know what's come into my head. Did West Brom win the league?
No.
I just made that up, didn't I? Oh, God almighty. Portsmouth.
Yes.
Huddersfield.
Yes.
Newcastle.
Yes. Halfway, 7 down.
Tottenham.
Yes.
Chelsea.
Yes.
How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You're on 9.
9. I'm on 9. Man City.
Yes. Oh, you're on 10.
Who was good back there? Aston Villa.
No. Oh, that's your first wrong guess. I'm impressed.
I was impressed myself. Then Leicester.
No. 3 seconds.
Birmingham City.
Oh,
No.
on the buzzer. No, sadly not.
Oh, it's a draw.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got 10. You missed out on Sheffield Wednesday / the Wednesday. You missed out on Sunderland, and you missed out on Wolves. So there we go.
Wolves I should have got. The other 2 were difficult. Sheffield Wednesday and Sunderland. I'll be honest. Huddersfield. I just remember Huddersfield won loads in the 20s.
Yeah, I got 4 in a row, I think it was.
Yeah, I can remember them being. Well, I can't remember them being really good in the 20s. I can remember seeing that they were really good in the 20s.
So Simon Day, that's your first par. That's your first par. So we're 5 quizzes down. You've won 2, you've lost 2, and there's our first draw. So there we go. Well done.
I'm like Everton, aren't I? Firmly mid-table every year.
Right. So I'm pumped for the second fact because you promised me this is going to be a good one.
Okay. Burnley is the smallest town or city to have won the English First Division.
Oh, that's a good one. And just to clarify,
English top flight. Yes. Now,
for the youngsters watching, yes, the
English top flight. Yes, they're the smallest town or city. The only caveat to this is obviously all of the London clubs are bracketed as London clubs. So
Right.
obviously you could say, I know they haven't won the league, but for example, Brentford has a population of just a couple of thousand, but actually they'd be bracketed as a London club. But in terms of
Right.
an actual sort of town or city, Burnley is the smallest place. Do you want to have a guess at the population of Burnley?
You know what? I'm pretty sure I looked this up, so it'd be a bit of a cheating guess. But is it something around 70,000?
No, it's about 88,000.
88,000. Okay.
Which means, and I think this is quite impressive, based on their average attendance and even taking into account away fans, still roughly about 20% of the population of Burnley pitch up at Burnley matches.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, now, obviously they don't all live in Burnley, so it's a bit of a false fact. But yeah, so they're currently the smallest club in the Premier League in terms of population. So who do you think are the second smallest in the Premier League?
Second smallest. Oh, in the Premier League now, population-wise.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to think who's down there. I mean, like I say, Brentford doesn't count. Would it be Norwich?
Norwich probably would have been my guess, but it's actually Watford.
Okay, right. Fair enough. Okay.
And for a big bonus point here, what is the smallest location in England to have a football league club at the moment?
Oh, it was always Earthlingborough, wasn't it? Rushden and
It was
Diamonds.
Earthlingborough. It's a similar sort of answer to Earthlingborough, actually.
But go on, hit me with this. No idea.
Nailsworth in Gloucestershire.
Oh, is that for Cheltenham?
No, Cheltenham playing Cheltenham.
Cheltenham play in Cheltenham, do that? Okay. Now, yeah. Who plays in Nailsworth?
Forest Green Rovers.
Okay. Fair enough.
And the final stupid question is... Oh, I've lost it now, actually. It was going to be, what 2 years did Burnley win the Football League? But you've told me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You've ruined my mini quiz challenge. But yeah, so it's quite impressive. But when you think about it, that is a very small place to have won the Football League, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm actually quite shocked that 88,000, okay, probably smaller back in the day, but 88,000 is the smallest. Like, so, you do need to be from big city, basically. Otherwise, you've got no chance.
It's strange, isn't it? Because you just thought there'd be some random year in the same way that Leicester won it 4 years ago. Why couldn't there have been a random year when Luton, I don't know, Gillingham won the football? You know what I mean? Just some random small town won the Football League, especially in the early days.
What you said about the percentage of the population, that kind of reminds me of Glasgow, because Glasgow's got something like 500,000-600,000 people. And you've got, obviously, Rangers and Celtic got about 110,000 season ticket holders between them. Again, taking into account people from outside the city, not taking into account things like that, still like 20% of the population basically has a season ticket to watch one of those clubs, which is pretty cool.
Which is mental.
Indeed.
Which is mental. Although I do sort of think it's a bit like when there's an away trip, like Carlisle are playing Plymouth. And it'd be like, the Carlisle fans have made a 800-mile round trip or whatever. Well, I don't think they live at the ground, do they? I think sort of... I mean, if they get the coach, they've made a longer trip because they've had to get to the ground to get the coach. They've made a longer than an 800-mile round trip. But equally, they might live in Exeter and they've just gone a few miles. So it's a load of nonsense, really. But I have just thought of two more geography-based little quiz teasers along the Burnley smallest town lines. What is the biggest city in England never to have had a Premier League side?
I was going to say Milton Keynes, but no, it's going to be...
Bigger than Milton Keynes.
Bigger than Milton Keynes.
One of the top 10 biggest cities in the country.
Oh, I was going to say, is it in Yorkshire?
No.
Okay, go on then.
Bristol.
They've never been in the Premier League, was that?
Premier League, yeah. Football didn't start until 1992, did it?
That threw me, okay.
And what's the biggest city never to have had a Football League club?
I was going to go for Wakefield, was that one?
That is correct.
That is correct, right, okay.
That's very good.
Nice.
Good.
Okay, well, that takes us... fact 2 is a good one as well. I think I fancy Burnley's chances here. Bizarre fan. Well, you know what? Burnley got quite a few fans. I know the fact that Alistair Campbell supports them, I thought was quite bizarre. But after last week, I thought there was only one fan we could really go for here, and that was John Ketley is a Burnley fan. And not only
He's in a
is
song, isn't he?
he's in the song with Michael Fish. So it's kind of accidentally joined on nicely. John Kelly. Apparently, he used to regularly mention the Burnley score in the weather forecast. It'd be like, "Oh, it's sunny in Lancashire tonight, especially sunny at Turfmoor, where Burnley won 2-0." He'd quite often put that into his. But going through some of the Burnley chat rooms, it seems like he's kind of like gone down a bit in their estimation when in about 2005 he was being interviewed and he said he thought Burnley had probably never scored away at Arsenal, which, bearing in mind Burnley have obviously won the league a couple of times, is like a really, really stupid thing to say. And he then, when asked what he wanted the score to be, he said, "I quite like Arsene Wenger, so I hope it's 2-0 to Arsenal." Which is quite weird, considering he built up all that goodwill over decades of being on the news and mentioning Burnley, and then just I don't know, maybe he was joking, maybe things are taken out of context. I don't know, but like just that one interview's basically kind of ruined him in Burnley fans' eyes.
I'm not convinced he's a proper Burnley fan, to be honest.
I mean, he talked the talk for many years, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he did have that sort of. Clearly, he never made a faux pas of the Michael Fish scale, as we discussed last week. But he did have a very good weatherman look, didn't he, Ketley?
I think Ketley, like if all the weathermen had a fight, I think Ketley would win. I'm going to throw that one out there. He's a bit of a man's man, I think.
Do you reckon?
You look at Ketley, and I mean, well, compared to Michael Fish, no disrespect to Michael Fish.
Well, and McCaskill.
But I mean,
I'm now struggling to Bill Giles. Was Bill Giles? Bill Giles, was he the bully? I'm sure there was some. No, seriously, I'm sure there was some scandal that Bill Giles was like bullying other weathermen.
I thought that should be funny, but it is.
In 1999, the Guardian headline was "Clouds clear for Bill Giles as bullying charges are quashed."
Oh, I've just looked up John Ketley on Google Images, and I'd like to retract my former statement about him being a man's man.
Weird comment. Another news story about Bill Giles bullying was. The headline was, "I was the victim of Bill Giles' cold front."
Oh, I like that. That's a decent headline.
And from the Independent, here is the weather report. Giles guilty of bullying.
Nice.
With a little appeal coming later.
Nice. Ketley, I think Ketley would take Giles. I think if they have a Royal Rumble, my money's still on Ketley.
I don't know, Giles. Well, yeah, but Giles has got form, hasn't he, now?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose.
Referred to by the Oxford Mail as Bully Boy Bill lashes BBC egos.
Yeah, but bullies are usually quite big cowards, aren't they? So I think if Ketley just landed a quick jab in the face, Giles would be crying off into his weather reports. And I'm still going with Ketley on this one.
What do you think? I just wonder what do you think the bullying manifested in in the weather reports? He'd like change the screen at the wrong time when they're trying to do their weather forecast, or like piss around with a map or something.
Yeah, or maybe who are Burnley's big rivals? Blackburn. So maybe Bill Giles would always say, "Oh, the weather over Blackburn," and always ignore Burnley. Little kind of like snide bits of little snide one-overs like that without maybe.
Giles.
So there we go. Our bizarre fan. I mean, Burnley. A few. There are quite a lot of people like Edward Heath who have basically visited Burnley once. There are quite a few people like that cropping up. But I've forgotten his name now. The weatherman Ketley. He actually had some form over many years. And given that Michael Fish was it last week, I thought we had to go here. So there we go. Our bizarre fan this week is John Ketley. Mr. Day.
Let's hope
number 3.
Let's hope Suzanne Charlton is a fan of Chelsea. Carry on the week. Fact number 3 is Burnley goalkeeper Happy Jack Hillman in 1899 became the first player ever to be found guilty of match fixing.
Ooh, 1899.
1899 to 90. sorry, to 1900. He was found guilty of match fixing. What happened was, in the last game of the season, Burnley needed to win to stay up. They were playing Notts Forest. He offered Notts Forest players £2 per head to, inverted commas, take it easy. £2 per head, based on the RPI, £2 per head equates to about 150 quid in new money.
Nice.
Unfortunately, they didn't take him up on the offer, and Forest were 2-0 up at half time. At which point, Happy Jack Hillman went into the Forest changing room and upped his offer to £5 per head. Forest won 4-0. Burnley were relegated, and Happy Jack Hillman was banned for a year.
Was it a straight shootout between Forest and Burnley? Was that the?
No, Forest had nothing to play for. Burnley basically had to better another side's results.
Okay.
But they lost 4-0 and got relegated. But Happy Jack Hillman.
What do you think about match fixing? Yeah.
What do I think about match fixing?
In nowadays, do you think it's an issue? Because you often hear stories about that. Or in our lifetime, do you think match fixing's been a big thing?
Not so much match fixing. I think spot fixing, probably more so, because that's a lot easier to do.
The throw-ins and
you can bet on like what side will get the first throw-in in a game, couldn't you? And like the team just boot it straight out of play. Which
that happened for quite a few years in the mid-90s. I remember Sky Sports with Andy Gray talking about this was a great new tactic, like puts the defence under pressure, and then it just came out that no, they would just both teams would get together before the match and say, look, whoever gets kick-off, boot it out straight away. We'll all bet a couple of grand on it.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing is now with like live betting. I mean, football's probably a bit harder than some sports. But with live betting, in-play betting, sports like cricket and tennis are just so open to it, aren't they? It's like you can bet on the outcome of the next ball in cricket. So if you're the bowler, you could just hurl down a wide, couldn't you? Now, I'm not saying that happens because obviously they're rigorous and it's all sort of, they have to go through rigorous training, blah, 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 and it's all above board and it's not an issue. But it would be so easy to fix, wouldn't it?
Yeah, one of my brother's good friends, who's quite a big comedian, so I'm not going to mention the name, but I'll tell you off air. He basically did that for a while. His friend used to go to tennis matches, and they would just have a live link. And because it's quite obvious in tennis, you can probably tell just before, if you're at one side of the court and I've just got an easy tap onto the court before the point is officially called, you can quite clearly bet, can't you? So if you're watching it live.
Yes,
as you say, it was very, very easy, and this guy, he made a lot of money doing that. There we go. If it's legal, it's legal.
Legal. Just like it wasn't Paul Chuckle, was it?
It was not Paul Chuckle, sadly.
No.
Not. No.
I'm out of ideas now. Anyway, so Happy Jack Hillman, he had a bit of previous on this front. The season before, he was playing at Dundee. And Dundee suspended him for not trying.
Oh, okay. That sounds ominous.
So, I mean, but I did sort of think, but in 1898, did goalkeepers, this sounds really silly, did goalkeepers dive around much? Because
that's a good question.
Clearly, there's no footage, but I could sort of remember seeing footage of like cricket in the 50s or whatever. And fielding was very lackadaisical. It was like, if it weren't straight at you, like 78% of fielders would just sort of stick a foot out to stop it. If that didn't happen, shrug the shoulders and trot after it. There was no diving around. But I don't know whether...
Yeah, good question. Were 19th century goalkeepers like just when you stick the kind of kid who can't play football in goal and he just stands there?
Or was it sort of regarded as being poor form? And sort of non-Corinthian to dive for the ball. It's a bit sort of ungentlemanly. It's bad manners to try and dive. The other interesting fact about Happy Jack Hillman is that I have no idea why his nickname was Happy, but also he has one England cap
because he's rich.
Well, I suppose, yeah. His one England cap came in a 13-2 victory over Ireland, which is the record number of goals in an England game ever. Now, given Happy Jack Hillman's other form, I think we might have to call into question what happened during this game. But yeah,
what were Ireland's 2 goals like? Yeah, okay.
I've not seen the archive footage of them, but yeah.
Because match fixing's obviously been a pretty big thing in Italy, right? I mean, Juventus obviously got booted out of Serie A. Lots more stories that you get there from there. And, on the continent, there have been a few things. Obviously, Nottingham Forest missed out on a third European Cup final, didn't they? Who was the team? It was a Belgian team, wasn't it? Dundee United also got conned out of the 80s.
Yes.
Was that Juventus as well? Or
it might have been,
it was an Italian team who, they won 2-0, didn't they, at Tannadice? And then, So, but
it's always a shame that these things take so long to come to light, don't they? That it becomes sort of not irrelevant, but it's sort of the people who have been screwed over by it. It's too late for them, really, isn't it? It's like when these people get their 4th place finish in the Olympics upgraded to a bronze medal because someone's been chucked out for drugs 4 years later. Okay, I'm sure it's lovely that they've won a bronze medal, deservedly so, but it ain't exactly the same as finishing in the top 3 in the Olympic Stadium, is it, or whatever?
No.
Just probably
on that note,
have it sent to you in the post. It's not the same.
On that note, if you ever see a Korean man finishing 4th in the Olympics looking upset, bear in mind it's an extra level of devastation because
yes.
they get a military exemption. So not only have you just missed out on your childhood dream that you spent your whole life training for, you've also basically just been in prison for 2 years. So I should be laughing when I say that. But yeah, so, finishing 4th, if you win any medal at the Olympics, you get an exemption from the military. So if you finish in 4th place, that's just a double kick in the testes.
So I bet there's loads of Korean teenagers just really desperate to get good at a sport, aren't they? And just trying their hand at everything.
Yeah, in fact, one year it was the or you can get a gold medal at the Asian Games, and one year, the football team, they just missed out. I think they were runners up in the Asian Games, and just see them sitting there, all of them just absolutely devastated as a group. Just okay, well, guess we'll go in the army then, boys.
That's like you are. I mean, it's not the same, but he's one step away from being sent to prison for not winning, isn't it? It's
yeah. I mean,
dear me.
There we go. But okay, that's a fantastic fact. So let's just quickly recap the facts. We've got the betting scandal. We've got the International Soccer League, and the other one was
the smallest town ever to win the Football League.
Smallest town to win the Football League. Yeah,
that for me is the most interesting fact, just from a purely interesting point of view. It's not particularly funny. There's not a lot of chat around it, but in terms of an interesting fact, that's an interesting fact.
I'll give you that one. So obviously, bizarre fan owed Ketley. So the question is, we've got Arsenal. Okay, so what do we do? Arsenal. Obviously, bizarre fan. We've already said that's gone. Arsenal have won that one. In terms of facts, what have Arsenal had? They've had
their first team broadcast on the TV, the radio, and 3D. Yeah. Huey Lewis and the News was the catalyst for Thierry Henry joining Arsenal. And the third.
So what are we thinking? Burnley or Arsenal?
Right, I'm going to be honest. I feel like I'm going over old ground a bit here, but John Ketley is the weakest celebrity fan so far.
Yeah.
And to me, I think based on the 3 facts, I'd probably edge towards Burnley. And all Burnley needed was a Gaffney. If Burnley had a Gaffney. Yeah, if Burnley had a Gaffney like Brentford, that would have put them above Arsenal. But I do you know what I mean? I feel like Ketley doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I agree. I think they've got the best facts, but I think they weren't going to beat Osama bin Laden, but as long as they could,
That's what I mean. They just needed a Gaffney.
Get a draw against Gaffney. Yeah. Okay. So Arsenal still in first place then. I think so. But next week we've got Chelsea, right?
I think if the alphabet's right,
Chelsea
yeah.
Next.
I'm pretty sure. There's Chelsea, Crystal Palace in the Premier League, aren't there? So, is there another
Right.
team we would see?
Okay.
Um,
I don't think Carlisle are in the Premier League, are they?
no, Cardiff City
So,
certainly
yeah.
aren't at the moment. But clearly, we're really up to
Chelsea
speed
it
with
is
the
then.
Premier League, aren't we? But yeah, I think Chelsea are definitely in it.
Now, the thing is with Chelsea, I think there's going to be a lot more story because, obviously Chelsea's their heyday has been over the last 20 years, right? And this is when we're going to get, social media, with the internet, etc. We're going to get a lot of stories coming out of Chelsea over the last 20 years. I think, Huey Lewis and the news type thing, like some pretty random things like that. So, I think Chelsea are going to give Arsenal a good fight next week.
Yeah, I'm not so sure, to be honest. I don't know whether these facts are. I think you're right. There'll be a lot about Chelsea, but will it be interesting?
Yeah. I mean, John Terry's got up to some misdemeanors in his time, hasn't he?
It could just be 3 interesting facts about John Terry, couldn't it? Yeah, that might be it.
We'll have to put an 18 plus warning on that one, probably.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, right. So, Simon Day, thank you very much. And everybody else, please join us next week for the Interesting Football podcast about Chelsea. Bye-bye, everyone.